What's up, Ninja Crunchers? I am back in my car again here, ready to do evening sessions with you. And I want to talk to you today about time management because it's something that I think, and this might sound like the unpopular opinion here, but I think that we all struggle with it. And I think that we all have this misconception that we're the only ones. I'm telling you guys right now, as someone who it does a lot of things, I'm a full-time trainer here at Crunch. I'm also a full-time student at UCF. I also run a nonprofit organization, and I'm also a public speaker. Oh, and I'm also a dancer, and I do ninja training. I struggle with time management, as you could imagine, but most of the time I have figured out how to have it under control. So I'm telling you from my experience and also from the wonderful, very successful people that I have gotten to learn from, that I think time management is something that it's like adulting. We stand there and we make it look like we know what we're doing when we're really just trying to figure it out. And so this is so important because it relates to your work with your body. Physically, mentally, nutritionally, with your food, it relates to that because if you're not managing your time very well in all of these areas in your life, how are you going to manage your time for you, to do the things that you need to do? And then what's going to happen with your time, by the way, when you think about it? Are we doing what we need to do for our bodies to be able to live a good quality of life if we're not managing our time well to take care of our bodies in the first place, right? So I have basically 3 things that I want to share with you guys, and I encourage you all to try this, but of course on your own time, okay? And when you feel most receptive and most relaxed to actually try this, make sure you're in a quiet space when you're doing this and you're not distracted by anything. So number 1, we want to start with why, okay? So I really want you to think about why this is important to you, why your health is important to you, your physical body and what you can do with it is important to you. Why are these things important? There is a reason that you came into Crunch on that initial day and you signed up. What is that reason? What is the reason that you've trusted in me to be able to support you on your journey? And I would like for you, when you do have that moment, I want you to write that down. Whether it's on a piece of paper, you can put it in your phone too, it doesn't really matter. Just put it somewhere where you can see it and where it's going to be finite. It's going to stay there, okay? And now the second thing I want you to do with that is what we call a brain dump. So this is where everything in your mind that you want to accomplish, it can be super small, like make dinner tonight, walk the dog, take a shower, all the way to learn how to play guitar again and visit Oklahoma. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you want to do, I want you to write all of it down. You may notice when you do the brain dump for the first time that it takes you a solid 15 to 20 minutes to get everything. And then you start to think of things throughout the day. I know when I first did this, I took up an entire front sheet of paper and then came up with stuff later on throughout the day that I eventually added, and that's okay. So just doing the brain dump is great. It gets all of your thoughts out. And again, you can do this on paper and you can also do it in your phone or in an app. I don't care. Just put it somewhere where the thoughts are out of your brain and they're somewhere where you can see it, okay? So we had start with why, we had the brain dump, and now we have the most important part of it, which is organizing those thoughts, okay? And so we have buckets that we want to basically put all of this stuff in. So instead of looking at life like a giant to-do list, because that's overwhelming, right? And that's what leads to us feeling like we can't do any of it. We look at it and we're like, oh man, I have all this stuff to do. This is overwhelming. This is crazy. I'll start on it tomorrow. And because we didn't break it down, now it just looks like it's way too much. So what I want you to do with all the stuff that you wrote down is you're going to put it into buckets. Our first bucket is called an action item. These are things that you can accomplish by doing the one thing. Maybe it takes one step and you would check it off. You're going to put those items there. The next one is going to be projects. These are projects are anything that require more than one step, okay? More than one step, it becomes a project. And then the third thing is someday maybe. And these are going to be the things that you know you want to accomplish with your life one day, but maybe it's not right now. The time is not right now because there are other things that are more important. To me, this is the most important bucket of all of them because this is what separates the things that are priorities now with the things that we want to do later. It allows us to let go and say, okay, I want to learn how to play guitar, but I understand that this is something I can't do right now, but it is still a goal. So instead of treating it like I'm letting this go, you are putting it in its own respective bucket where you still know it's a priority. It's just not one right now. And now it allows you to go to the action items and the projects and say, okay, let me manage these things. Let me get through this. And then we can work on this someday maybe. And so if any of this becomes also confusing, then you always want to take it back to the why behind why you're doing it instead. When we have a deep why, you guys, it makes it, just like in my other video, it makes it so that you can keep going. No matter what, no matter how difficult things get, when we can go back to our why, that is what keeps us going. And the why is what's going to keep you organized. A piece of advice I got recently, there was a moment where I was overwhelmed with things that I wanted to do. And my speaking mentor, he asked me if everything was staying in their bucket or if things were beginning to overlap. Was life as a trainer, interrupting life with my nonprofit, were the two things not staying in their time zones. And I realized that was a big problem, that things were intertwining. And as soon as I began to adjust that and say things are going to stay in their bucket, and if I realize I don't have enough time on something, then I know what needs to change. And I know that maybe something needs to move to a different bucket, right? And so this is what I want to challenge all of you guys to do, okay? All of you have mentioned something to me related to time management. And again, I think that it's something we can all get better at. We just don't ever really talk about it. And there's nothing wrong with not being good at it because we don't talk about it. And it's hard to be just good at something that we don't ever talk about. So if you ever want to learn more about this topic of time management, I love talking about it. There is a wonderful book that was recommended to me at one point, and it's what helped me to be able to share this with you guys. I wasn't really an organized person before I read it, and the book really helped me. So if you are wanting to dive deeper into this, let me know. But if anything, start with these 3 things. Start with why, do the brain dump, divide everything into buckets, and then conquer.